Hey, Reid, I'm really excited to be here. As a disabled founder, I see firsthand how often online accessibility is seen as an afterthought. Our goal at Ceemo.ai is to bake accessibility into the foundation of every brand, pitch deck, and marketing asset our software creates. We want accessibility to not only be industry standard because it's the right thing to do, but also because it opens up markets by over 20%. I believe that my disability has made me more empathetic, which in turn makes me a better designer and storyteller because I'm able to put myself in other people's shoes. I think that's what's required to build truly accessible creative tools. So, my question for you is, how can business leaders today channel a similar sense of empathy to creatively use AI and spark a new chapter in online accessibility?
Well, that's an amazing path and story that you come on. So thank you for sharing it. And empathy, as you identify, is extremely important. It's one of the actually core ideas behind, inflection and Pi. The first startup I've done since LinkedIn, which is this personal intelligence reflection, because EQ is as important as IQ in kind of being a good, kind of companion, tool, help, aid to human beings. We respond, we trust, we engage when empathy is there, when EQ is there, exactly as you're doing. And part of my hope, part of what AI can naturally do in terms of really broadening and accessibility is AI is naturally turning everything into a language interface. And so anything that you can do with language now can direct, a computational device. And it's really good at translation. So if you say, well, what if I'm mute? It still needs a language to go. But as long as it can get from any language you have, and by the way, of course, much broader communities and everything else, it can go into any kind of format for directing computers and devices and applications and all the rest. And I think there's going to be a whole new world of accessibility. And I think your insight into having empathy be core to the high functioning of that is exactly right. And so when I hear your question, I was like, yeah, that's exactly why we were thinking about Pi the way we are too. And of course, Pi is a chatbot agent, and yours is actually, how do we change the interfaces of all these things so that we make the affordances, the ability to kind of make it natural, easy, welcome, my kind of place, my kind of thing, done with me in mind, at a much broader range. And I think that, and by the way, it won't just increase the market, as you say, it'll also increase the value for everybody. So I think it's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you said about the importance of EQ and IQ. That's really at the heart and soul of what we're doing at Ceemo. And I'm really excited about how AI and machine learning can make certain things about branding more accessible to people and marketing and pitching more accessible to people. For instance, one challenge that we're dealing with right now is how to make brand generation accessible to the completely blind. And it really takes a lot of empathy to put yourself in their shoes, especially someone who's never had sight. How do you explain a color scheme? How do you explain what a font looks like? Because right now, founders who are completely blind, they have to go through, it quadruples the amount of time to develop any kind of marketing because they have to have it reviewed by someone sighted. So at Ceemo, we're trying really hard to answer that question with technology to make it easier and faster for them so that they have an equal shot at telling their story and unlocking their own startup success.
That's really great. And I suspect you're already doing this, but I'd be very curious to see if you go to the leading AI models and you say, with different prompts, explain color palette, explain to a blind person, et cetera, and do it with many different prompts and see if you get some interesting different results. Try it also, by the way, when you're doing this because sometimes shaking it up and just repriming it, like how would Picasso explain color palettes to a blind person, right? Like try that because you might discover something, oh, that's really good. We should use that one too. And again, 80% of them might be useless, but if 20% of them are useful, that will be really helpful. And I think that's part of where we can use AI to help us become more human.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Thank you so much, Reid.
Thanks.
This is Masters of Scale.